Move to Florida, beaches, green grass, hibiscus plants. And you're like, wow. So you come to Florida and people are just like, I want the greenest grass. I want the most tropical landscape kind of thing. And that's from learning. I mean, that's not what Florida is at all.
But we're trying so hard to go against that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the problem is, or part of the problem is people just like expect when you move to Florida, it's everywhere. New developments, it's just that same house with the same St. Augustine grass with the same foundation shrubs. You got a couple trinettes out there, and then they'll throw a sable palm out there and be like, okay, we got a native in there. Like we're set.
Right.
After they just plowed a whole entire ecosystem just to make these, and what they do is take the land and flip it. So now the soil, the good soil that was on top, is now completely underneath, and all the, the sand and clay and limestone that's left. Yeah, it's all. So you have to rebuild your whole entire soil profile. There's 1,000 people a day around that move to Florida.
Wow.
And they're trying to keep up with it. So they're just building developments, and it's nuts.
Yeah. So in a recent podcast, I just talked about like earth ships, and that was a really cool solution. Like, what are more solutions instead of like these blueprints we have, right? Like all these like these development companies have this like boom approach, strip all this land and make quick homes. What are other solutions we could have to this problem?
Our potential, it's exponential.
Hey, what's up, guys? We're here with another podcast. I got my buddy Cam here with me.
Yeah.
And Cam is with Longleaf Designs. He is an edible native landscaper, conscious landscaper, I would say.
Yeah.
And we're going to get more into it. Cam, thank you for being here.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, for
good
sure.
To see you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so Cam just started your business, right?
Yeah.
In this area.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. But you've been in this for a little bit now. So
yeah.
Tell us about that, like your experience, like what got you into this?
Yeah, so I've been doing landscaping down here for 10 years. I think I'm from New Jersey. I moved down here. All of a sudden, I have bananas and mangoes and pineapples growing in my yard. And
nice. Where was that?
Tropical, right in Jupiter.
Cool.
Yeah. My classic. Dad moved down after retirement. Came with him, and
from Jersey.
Yeah, and here I am now, working outside in the sun. And I always had a green thumb. My mom's a gardener. I helped her out when I was a kid, but I really didn't get into it until I came to this new land.
Wow.
I think.
And you, that's so good. This new land.
It was totally different from Jersey at first. And it was epic. I just started experimenting. When I moved in, it was just crappy St. Augustine grass with a bunch of old foundation shrubs that have been shaved to death and just not providing anything. A couple sable palms on the property, and then the banana trees and mango look great, and that was cool. But so I altered the landscape and started doing my own design just off the top of my head and scribbling on paper and just going to Home Depot at first and like local nurseries and just experimenting. And
at your parents' place?
Yeah, and just messing around. And all of a sudden, a year later, my soil's built up. I got new plants in there. You're seeing birds and butterflies. I got bees coming around, and it's cool. Like you plant them and they will come, and that was really cool.
Building habitat.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like native plants at first. I made a succulent garden. I was throwing in a couple natives here and there. I wasn't even like really about natives when I first started.
Interesting.
It was kind of new to me.
Yeah. You were learning. You were just learning.
Yeah, I was I was working. I was going to school, and it was started to be like my hobby, my passion on the side. I'd waste all my money. I wouldn't say waste. I'd use all my money
for plants.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And now, 10 years later, my soil at their house is epic.
Amazing investment, I'd say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what'd you go to school for? Was it around design work or no?
So I went to Palm Beach State and took the botany classes and met Professor George Rogers, I think is his name. Great guy. And I took a class like environmental stresses in our ecosystems. I mean, it was all about how damaging pesticides and herbicides and non-native plants and invasives and what traditional landscaping is almost
Wow.
doing to our world
Wow.
in Florida, if not all around America.
It's true.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that, because it's true. It is the conventional. It is the norm.
Yeah.
These contracts, right, of this. So talk about that. What is that? The destructive practices, you know?
Yeah. Even I don't know if people are just moving from up north, and because up north everybody has foundation shrubs and your green grass, and it's all about who's got the best lawn. You know?
I don't get it. I still don't get it.
I think it came from some old English tradition from a couple hundred years. Yeah, like, and it was all about, that nice courtyard with your green grass that led up to your big castle or whatever.
Yeah,
and,
I've heard about this. If you have a big lawn, like it showed you had all that. You didn't need to do anything with it. It was like wealth.
Yeah, it was about like, I'm better than you, or something like that.
Keeping up with the Joneses type thing, you know?
Exactly.
Which really shouldn't have a place in all of America, like the entire, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every class, it's just an outdated thing, right?
So, I mean, going back to when I moved, what you see from like realtors or just the image of Florida, move to Florida, beaches, green grass, hibiscus plants. And you're like, wow. So you come to Florida and people are just like, I want the greenest grass. I want the most tropical landscape kind of thing. And that's from learning. I mean, that's not what Florida is at all.
Wow,
we don't have really any tropical looking plants. I mean, maybe a handful, but our environment is totally different.
It's true. You go to these parks, it doesn't look like... Yeah.
It's not a rainforest at all.
It's not.
It's not Costa Rica or anything like that.
So talk about that. Yeah. But we're trying so hard to go against that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the problem or part of the problem is people just like expect when you move to Florida, it's everywhere. New developments, it's just that same house with the same St. Augustine grass, with the same foundation shrubs. You got a couple trinettes out there. I joke about it. They put like a handful of tropical hibiscus, trinettes, boxwoods or whatever, and then they'll throw a sable palm out there and be like, okay, we got a native in there. Like we're set.
Right.
After they just plowed a whole entire ecosystem just to make these, And what they do is take the land and flip it. So now the soil, the good soil that was on top, is now completely underneath, and all the the sand and clay and limestone that's left. Yeah, it's all. So you have to rebuild your whole entire soil profile, and it requires a lot of
instant,
like
methods,
water, or they don't even use like natural mulch. It's all dyed, or it's cypress, which is bad practices too.
Though. That's what they do when they tear it all up. They bury all of it.
It depends, but I mean, and then they build a man-made pond in there.
Yeah, because people don't realize that's biomass. Like all that stuff they tore out. Like just to get rid of it in one day is like is why they're doing it. But we're wasting all this good stuff that it's been this natural system has been growing
absolutely
for who knows how long.
Yeah, Florida's like recently touched, and within 50 years or so we've done a lot to it between agriculture and just development. One of my biggest things is there's 1,000 people a day around that moved to Florida.
Wow.
And they're trying to keep up with it. So they're just building developments, and it's nuts.
So in a recent podcast, I just talked about like earth ships, and that was a really cool solution. Like what are more solutions instead of like these blueprints we have, right? Like all these like these development companies have this like boom approach, strip all this land and make quick homes. What are other solutions we could have to this problem?
Yeah, no, I don't mean to make it sound all dark,
but we have to say it as it is too. So
I'm just speaking the truth about it.
I appreciate.
Just take the turnpike and drive from Tallahassee and back, and you'll just see. Or take 95, whatever. I mean, I just took US 1 to get here, and they're plowing a bunch of stuff already up in Hope Sound. So it's just everywhere.
Yeah, man, it is.
And UF is actually working on kind of like an example plan with a bunch of native species that they could give to contractors to help see how easy it is to install compared to your traditional. Because right now it's just about production. It's just St. Augustine grad, like I said. Let's go, let's get this done.
Producing the house.
That's producing the houses and developments like quick and easy.
Making money off the land.
So it's great. UF is always on top of that stuff. And
yeah, they are cool. They're a great resource.
Yeah.
So that is interesting. They're offering models like a substitute.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Actually, the company I used to work for in Gainesville helped design and install a plot. They had like a couple plots that they had a couple companies coming in and seeing how fast and seeing what they could do with the design. They just gave you a handful of plants and we just kind of designed it on the fly and see how easy it is and see if they could mimic that in the development world and the contractor world.
Amazing.
And I hope that really gets somewhere. We were just doing that before I left Gainesville. So I hope they got
what company is that?
It was with Zamia Design.
Cool.
Yeah. So I worked, shout out. My old boss, Larry Teague.
Okay.
He's a landscape architect. Great dude.
Cool, man. And then when you came down here, shout out Longleaf Designs. You just started this new company. So what do you guys do? What do you specialize in your designs and your approach?
Yeah, so I'm all about native landscaping first. I think that is one of the most important things we could give back to our state. Changing the game entirely of your landscape. Like, what I'd really like to do is take people's turf grass and convert it into its own ecosystem completely. And that's kind of troubling for a lot of people because like we talked about, it's like I need my lawn, or it's part of an HOA rule that you need to have, your sod in your front yard and all that.
So get rid of grass.
Yeah, so I get rid of grass completely. And I design it based on, long term, like we were discussing earlier.
Like what's the point of that? Like when someone would say, why would you get rid of the lawn? Like why would you do that?
Well, grass has its purpose, and I'm not totally like
cool,
against it. If you're not
going to take out the whole yard like every time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also over fertilize or overwater their grass to begin with. St. Augustine is actually a native grass. It grows here without a lot of inputs as well. Maybe it doesn't shine and looks perfect, but it's fine and it has its purposes. There's a lot of soil microbes and tiny insects and birds and stuff that rely on that. So that's why I try to incorporate everything into my designs. So I think long term, I want this to be here forever. I plan on this section, these will drop their seeds. So when that plant dies off in 10 years, there'll be new plants coming. I try to create my own ecosystem in your front yard. And a lot of ground covers and ground covers to trees really is everything. A couple ground covers could bring in, beneficial bees or wasps or beetles. And they're also larval hosts for a bunch of butterflies. And people think that birds just need seeds to survive. I would say, and there is some fact around this, that 60, maybe 70% of food for birds are caterpillars. So it all connects. It's great to see butterflies and all that stuff and moths, but you have to know that it's also attracting your birds. It's also, it all connects. So I try to plant as diverse as possible. And I know some people may not agree with the native plants from this zone and this grows in Central Florida, but it could grow fine in South Florida.
Right.
But again, we're destroying so much land
that's like a little argument between the native people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? But,
sorry. I'm kind of trailing there.
But I just want to get back to your point. That's exactly why we do it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why would we even do it? Like it all is interconnected.
Yeah.
We need all those insects. We need all of them.
Exactly.
Like I think a lot of people might be blind to the fact that we need an ecosystem because we're part of nature. Don't you agree? Like we're missing that.
It's funny because in college, I graduated from UF in 2018, and my final project was about stormwater retention ponds in people's backyard, which is pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was actually a little bit based off of a project from my old professor, Dr. Gail Chapman, about what are people's views on retention ponds. And a lot of people move down, and it's this nice, grass around your pond. There's no plants in it. And yet, you see some birds and stuff that come to it. But it's funny because people move to Florida and they want to see wildlife. but yet they want their ponds completely clean. And they don't want plants. They don't want to block their view. They don't want a cypress tree in the way. Cypress trees are hugely important. Herons nest in it. So
these are species we need.
Yeah,
these
are
animals need.
Exactly. So it's just,
you can't have it both ways.
Yeah,
it's a great point, man.
So I interviewed my family and some neighbors and whatnot, and they're like, "Yeah, I love seeing the birds and stuff." And actually, where my parents live, I used to live, my pond in the backyard was the only one with all the aquatic plants in there compared to the other like neighborhoods. And I get tons of them. I get purple gallinules. I mean, I get
this time of year
all
too.
Heron. Yeah,
we love the birds, man.
Yeah,
like we want to bring
otters.
The birds here.
Like you can tell, like the dragonfly eggs are on there,
right?
And it's all tied together.
And honestly, the landscaping that you're talking about, Cam, is great for vegetable gardens.
Yes,
they need all these predators and stuff, right?
Yes. That is the second part of longleaf design.
Cool. So you definitely get into fruit trees and stuff. Talk about that.
Yeah, no, I think edible landscaping has its thing for sure. I have to say the native thing is definitely my go-to.
Your go-to, your forte.
I've been very passionate about that. I love it for the last 10 years for sure. But I'm more recently in the last 2 or 3 years, I've been getting into more edible landscapes as well.
Very cool.
And it actually started based on, where we get our food from. And you watch a lot of videos from Instagram, YouTube about, monoculture agriculture all over America and all over the world. We're losing our soil profile. Like land is getting destroyed because the common agricultural practices are not good for the earth at all.
That's right.
There's nothing that gives back to the soil.
And that's where a lot of this food comes from, Ritz crackers or whatever we eat.
Yeah,
it comes
it's all
from this system.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's sprayed with Roundup, a lot of stuff, or it comes from a different country and they need to put some type of preservative on it just to get to the shelves.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of crazy when you do a little research and you kind of go down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
And it's terrible for the water. You see videos of people who do
Big
regenerative agriculture and their water's pure.
Wow.
And their plants are good and there's tons of wildlife. Their cows are happy. The food tastes good.
That's right. So you've been welcoming more of that in. What have you gotten into since you've been doing like more edibles?
I think the edibles and the natives are connected because of the pesticide spraying and stuff. People say, "Oh wow, I got whitefly on my tomatoes. I got to spray it. I got to spray it ASAP." And I'm like, "Well, your HOA neighborhood with everybody has the same exact grass and tropical plants, and there's not a single bird or beneficial wasp in sight to help you out. That's part of the problem."
That's right. No beneficial wasps, bro.
So you start seeing it when you build up your native landscapes, and all of a sudden each day is different. A different beetle or a different type of ladybug or something like that.
There's biodiversity.
Yes, I'm all about biodiversity.
Totally, and that's all it is, right? The whitefly. It's to you and I. It's imbalance.
Yes.
How do we fix the root of the problem? In a holistic way, like we're garden doctors.
Yeah.
And really holistic garden doctors.
Exactly.
Right? Because the approach we wouldn't have is, hey, let's slap a prescription of this pesticide, this thing that might not be good for the entire, right? The rest of the system.
Yeah, exactly, man. Mm-hmm. We're right on track. Bro.
Yeah, totally. So what plants are good? Because I want to learn from you, man. What native plants are great for that?
I mean, they all are. There's a couple that you see that are planted regularly in like the traditional landscaping, and like sea grape or cocoa plum, and wild coffee is even getting planted a lot more, which is great. But they end up shaving them or turning them into like these hedges that
they do.
And that takes away the flowering.
So you need
which
to let
takes away the berries.
Got you. It messes with the season.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you get less berries or fruit. And by the way, sea grape's edible.
Yeah, that's right. And cocoa plum.
And cocoa plum.
And Simpson stopper.
And you could eat the sable minor seeds as well. So
cool.
Yeah.
So what other plant? Because those are a lot of cool shrubs.
Yeah, they're awesome.
That's really interesting. They shave them right before they fruit and stuff. It's the same thing with mangoes and everything.
Yeah.
It's a time and place, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's so backwards.
Yeah. But it's cool. Let's talk about these good practices because you're inspiring me, man. I know Gaillardia is really good for bringing in those wasps and stuff. What
Absolutely.
other like flowering natives are there?
Yeah, so like some plants, specifically, like this plant attracts, this type of butterfly, and like that's cool. Like it's definitely a must have. But there's some that we just don't know yet. Like for instance, one of my favorite wildflowers or perennial natives is scorpion tail. And it's got little white flowers, it does a little scorpion tail looking thing. It's a great plant. I've grown it in shade. I've grown it in full sun, and it just loves it. You could go off the books, but I've done it in multiple landscapes, different types of soils, and it's a great perennial to have. But not only that, every day you have something new on it, like a new type of wasp, all different colors, a new type of beetle on there, honeybees, your native bees, sweat bees, just all over it. And stuff like that. Like you don't know like what specific species are going to it, but if you just stop and stare at it for 20 seconds, you just, you see hundreds of things just flying around it. And that's just one plant. So in my designs, I definitely try to incorporate like wildflower zones throughout, because that's where you're going to get a lot of action. That's where your aphids are going to go. And then that's where the wasps are going to follow. That's where the butterflies are going to go, and that's where the birds are going to follow. And a lot of wildflower seeds are good for birds as well. And then the birds check it out, and then they notice there's a bunch of bugs in there too. And it's all the habitat, we
need those. It's a habitat. Exactly right. We need those shrubs and stuff and those birds because the caterpillars eat our tomatoes.
Exactly.
In the garden, man. We need those birds.
Exactly.
Predators.
Yeah. So just by planting like edible plants around your native garden is a huge beneficial thing to do if you're trying to grow edibles.
Or natives. Yeah, exactly.
Like larger trees provide habitat and nesting. So you could sit there and watch, from the oak tree or the palm to the wildflower garden to the Simpson stopper shrub. And it's a whole, like I said, it's a whole ecosystem just living in your front yard. And if you have edibles throughout it, one, it's all organic, it's coming right from your backyard.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. You know where it's coming from.
Yeah, man.
You don't have to worry about.
I tell people it's like it's night and day. This produce, it's like there's no going back. It's so good.
Exactly.
Well, like at least tomatoes and a lot of these, salads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
you know where it's coming from.
Exactly, man. And that is, I think there's a huge disconnect in general with a lot of Americans between like the land and society. I think like over 100 years ago, like majority of people grew their own food. Like farming was a huge career for multiple families, and now it's like 1% or less than 1% of people. Way less. Maybe.
And it was the thing. I think the statistic. Yeah, it was like gardeners. It was like everybody grew some, like at least some of their.
Yeah. It was a sharing thing between neighbors. Like this guy grew olives, this guy grew tomato. It was an interconnected thing.
That's it.
And everybody shared and traded.
Yeah. And some people still live like this.
Yeah.
So please, Cam, talk about this. You just went to Italy, right?
Yeah, I did. And
you woofed, right?
I woofed.
Heck yeah. I was a woofer too, man. We're woofers. Here we are.
I'm a woofer.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Cool, man.
It is so cool to see how other people live. But, besides just like going to another country, watching his like agricultural practices was awesome. They don't even have an irrigation system. I mean, it's all based on like building your soil profile. It's all based on the season, and it is what it is.
So this was your farm, but for people who don't know, woofing is an organization for it's like a directory of farms that you could get and apply to, right? And you got hooked up with a farm in Italy.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So he knew about soil building and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's awesome, man. He has his own honey. He does all his own honeybees.
Nice.
It's basically an olive farm. However, they grow all the vegetables and leafy greens for themselves. I mean, 70-80% of their diet is based on their backyard or what they grow. And it's a nonstop process, and they love it.
They love it.
They love it. I mean, you don't stop working, and it's not even like I gotta work tonight. It's like just the joy of like I get to eat my food. Wow. I can't wait to eat this for breakfast. I can't wait to make olive oil out of it. I was picking olives off these trees on the side of a mountain, and they don't have irrigation systems.
That's right. You need to stress the tree out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is beautiful, man. I picked olives too in Italy
Yeah.
in my woofing days.
In
Yeah.
your woofing days.
And it is special, right? It's like, wow, people have been doing this for, right, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just
If not
like we are.
thousands over there, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah. Like, and we're just out here doing the same thing,
yeah.
pressing
So-
olive oil.
Yeah. You know, part of it is something I'm truly passionate about. Like, I don't think I'll ever stop learning or experimenting in my own garden. Like, I want to continually just keep building up, supporting and conserving native species, but also like getting away from the store-bought, you know, bad sprayed produce and whatnot. It's just not good for our health. It's not good for the ecosystem. I think our agricultural and landscaping needs to totally flip-flop.
Yes.
It needs to come back into the hands of us and not leave it up to giant corporations to grow our food or plow our land and build. I think it's super important, and it happens so quickly. It happens so quickly,
Yeah.
and it seems like scary for a lot of people to do it, but in Florida too, we could grow so much down here all year round.
Yeah, man.
So,
Amen. I love it.
yeah.
Yo,
Yeah.
so Cam, tell me about, there are a lot of weeds here in Florida that people just automatically just plow down.
Where's the Roundup?
Yeah, they spray them, really.
Gosh, there is a purple flower in my yard. I have to kill this
I know.
immediately.
So tell me, because that's
I have to get to Home Depot ASAP.
It's over the top. It's in my fence. Dude, so there's such beautiful flowers. Lantana, there's all these amazing flowers.
Yeah.
So talk about how can we switch the association with some of these weeds, because some of these weeds are amazing, like Biden's alba.
I know.
Do you use any of these? Like, these are amazing.
I'm all about it. If it was my yard, you know, I would be teaming with it.
Mm-hmm.
But as a landscape designer and you know, I try to educate people as much as possible, and I try to bring my vision to people's landscapes. But at the same time, I have to also like understand what they want for their yard and what type of, you know, HOA they're in or something like that. You have to kind of hear their vision.
That's a super pro answer. Thank you, by the way.
And yeah, I try my hardest, you know, like to
I
incorporate,
agree.
you know, I'll sneak my little wildflower section in there, and
go.
they're like, I don't know if this will pass.
And then
it's
they'll
like,
eventually
you know,
come around.
yeah,
and you could add stuff.
you know, but
No, but that's the truth, because we have to meet them where they're at.
yeah,
That's super pro. But
Yeah.
there is a place, like, it is good to learn that. Like, when the Bidens comes up in the mulch or something, like,
Yeah.
you could leave some of that, and maybe, you know,
yeah,
because it is a dynamic system.
dude, so many pollinators go to that thing. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's true.
And we could actually eat it as well, and it's medicinal, helps like with the flu and everything too.
Yeah,
So
it's antimicrobial.
it just spreads like crazy.
It does.
It is
No,
out of
you're right.
control.
It's good to know these maintenance things, because you're in landscaping. People call you down the line.
Yeah.
Hey, this is happening, all these problems.
Yeah.
It's good to get ahead of them.
And that's where I'm like, I have this experience. Like, you could read things on all whatever the native or Florida
Yes.
landscaping stuff, and
Yes.
and it could be a little like black and white, and I've worked with it, and I know how it works, and that's why I offer maintenance as well, because I want to make sure you have these species, but at the same time, I don't want it to be like an out of hand situation. And with Biden's, that will be out of hand fast.
No,
I mean, you blink and
respect
that
it,
you
yeah.
have 1,000 plants in your yard.
Yeah, I'm just curious, because these things will just come up. You're right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think about all these weeds. We're trying to get rid of all of them.
Yeah.
You know? But
It's
like, I leave
terrible.
patches of stuff. Like, what? The bees love some of these these weeds.
And there's tons of like turf grass replacement. Like, just because you have like a ground cover, you don't necessarily need something that like covers the ground. You know, you could use ferns and stuff under trees. A couple good ground covers, Sunshine Mimosa.
I love
It's got the
that
little, you know, pink puffball on
You
it.
use that one in the landscape.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's awesome. It's great. It spreads a little bit, but you could keep it in line easily.
And it's nice to walk on. I like walking on
The
it.
leaves shut. You know, I think the Native Americans used to like use
Yeah.
it to track animals down because
Oh,
the
no
leaves
way.
would shut and they could see the path and stuff. So
Yeah, it's one of the sensitive plants.
yeah, it's cool.
That's what they used to do here.
I think so. Yeah,
That's cool,
yeah.
man. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Another one is frog fruit. Yeah, these are common. They're so well known now. Like the Florida Native Plant Society is great. They've done a great job of trying to spam that out.
Yeah, totally.
And I love it.
What other ones? Yeah.
Another one is twin flower. That's a good one. Little purple flowers. It could grow well like under oak tree canopies with that mixed like dapple sunlight, and but it does well in both. Another one that's a little crazy, but it's awesome. It's a Salvia mazella.
I like the salvias.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lime green color to it, but it gets these little blue salvia flowers that pop up. It's a great ground cover. It will do its job. It's more of a shady type of ground cover. So for those hard, okay, so yeah, people have issues with growing grass under live oak trees. Go figure.
Yes.
You're growing grass in shade. It's just not going to work out.
Exactly.
And that's a good plant to replace those areas with.
Because they don't mind being under the oak.
Yeah,
they're
love
used
it.
to it. They're native.
Exactly.
Amazing.
I target, what things like, okay, so what? It's from Central Florida, but it grows well in this situation.
Totally. It's a little microclimate thing.
Yeah, it's all about the microclimate is where you're at.
Yeah, and exactly, because there's nuance, right? Every site's different.
Exactly.
So what have you learned? You said you've done how many designs now? Over 100 designs, probably?
Yeah, probably since I've started this.
So cool.
Well, not this company, but since I've been in Florida, I've definitely,
in your previous jobs and stuff.
Yeah. All different types.
Tell me what you've learned, like, in that time.
You're always learning something new.
Wow.
And honestly, as a designer, like I've said before, it's all about reading your clients appropriately, because they could be about natives, but at the same time, things spread, or it didn't come out as they planned exactly. So it's all about reading what they really want, but also bringing that like education to them and trying to change their minds, or change the HOA community's mind or whoever's in charge.
On what? Change their minds on what?
On like this type of landscaping, because it's just totally like, if every house is looking the same and same grass and everything, and then this neighbor has this crazy ecosystem with ground covers,
makes waves.
And like sand paths are coming through it, and they got limestone boulders, and it's just like teeming with wildlife.
It's too much for them.
It's like out of control to some people, but
you're helping change their perspective on it.
Yeah, that's my goal.
Agree.
That is my goal. I think.
Cool.
Yeah, again, we need to definitely relook on how we go about things, because it's not just for the wildlife, it's for us too. Like we live together on this earth with these animals and fauna and flora.
You're right.
And it's not just like their generation, it's our generation. Like who knows what stepping on pesticide grass is going to do to us long term. We know the bad effects about it. You could research it all over, but yet people are just constantly spraying it. Oh, your tree has this in it. Just spray it, and it's just everywhere. And I think we need to step back and get back to nature a little bit.
I agree.
And it works. Mother Nature knows what she's doing. Like I said, I've planted one of my projects up in Gainesville. I designed had like 63 native species to it, and it was awesome. Everything from ground covers to trees, and it was designed in a very neat way. Just because I do native landscaping, people kind of automatically think this is going to be wild. This is going to be nuts.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be nuts. I could make your yard look just as neat.
I love that.
I'm not going to shave things in the balls and, disrupt, fruit and, seed processes of the plants, but I'm going to make it look good.
Yeah.
That's part of the design. I'm not just plugging things away. I take time to do my designs.
Yeah.
I mean, big projects with like, half an acre or an acre, and we're taking out whole turf grass. It's like, what do you want to do with it? Are you going to walk through it? Is this more of like coming up when you're driving up and it's as you're going down the street? Is it the view from your office inside your house? Like, what do you want to see?
Wow.
And I take into consideration all of these things.
Yeah.
And I try to make the layers. Layer is very important. Texture, color, layer, all of that in design. And I think it's a huge part of it to make sure all that's in place, but also using native species. So it may take me a little bit longer to do designs, but it's all with good thought. It's how long is this plant going to last? Like, I'm not going to plant annuals from Home Depot in your yard because they'll get burnt out from our Florida heat and humidity within a couple weeks or months. That's not the style of landscaping. I plant for you, so you're investing into your land. So one, you'll have it for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I'm not saying it doesn't need maintenance. Everything needs a little maintenance, you know?
That's right.
It's just different. I'm not coming in there. I'm not spraying.
Yeah.
Everything I do is organic. I burn weeds with a flamethrower or use vinegar and salt.
Yeah.
Epsom salt.
Let's go. Yeah, preach, man. Dude, tell me about it. Yeah.
Or do it by hand, you know?
I'm saying, no, but there's so many good things there. So what are the customer's goals? That's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Like, what are we doing here? And also what you're talking about is so important. How can it still look good? That's part of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. Like some people, you said they think as natives, it's not going to look good.
Yeah.
Maybe because their neighbor just planted and they don't care. Whatever they think, it's just not what they're used to, I think.
Yeah.
That's just all it is.
And
That's what their neighbors don't have.
You're going to stick out of place.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's different.
Yeah.
And it freaks them out. But it really does look, it can hit. It could look great.
Yeah.
And it could be really easy maintenance. I think the same thing with with what I do. It's the same thing. Like it could look really great.
Yes.
It's part of that.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
I see your stuff.
Yeah.
It looks
thank
great,
you, man. Thank you.
It always looks good.
But yeah, it's not you can't walk away for 2 years and expect it to still look great.
No, gardening is like kind of a never ending job.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be hard.
No.
But it's definitely, a relationship. Right?
Exactly.
That's what it is.
And, you know, it's good for the mind. It takes a lot of stress out if you're outside, especially when you're seeing the birds and the bees and all that. So it's good for it. It can be really difficult because, like I said, I really want the client to have, you know, a good design. I want them to be able to come back to it in 6 months and it's doing well. A year, it's still doing well. 5 years from now, you know, it's wildflowers you kind of need to, you know, replace, of course, but the shrubs I use and the trees, you know, as long as you're taking care of it, like it's going to look good. So I want them to have that.
Yes.
But it's difficult. Like I take the time to really understand what you have on your property, what your thoughts or feels on, what do your neighbors think, you know, because a lot of people, you know, so I'm working on one right now and it's a small section, but it's under a live oak tree. In between some homes it's really tight together. So it gets the full sun in the middle of the day. It's got this live oak tree with the dappled canopy. It already has another big like foxtail palm or something that's kind of blocked. So light is difficult and it's a narrow spot and it's an HOA. So, and people are like, you don't have grass in your front yard? The woman told me how many times they tried to plant grass under her live oak tree and it just keeps dying. And then they send a guy out to spray it. And then it dies again. And then they replant it. And then it's just this cycle. And it's like, it's so obvious. Like we could just change this so easily.
Wow, thank you, Cam. Because it's just it's just insanity.
Yeah,
going and doing this spraying and stuff, like it really is, right? Like why don't we set up better systems that don't require these things?
Why are you trying the same thing that fails?
Yeah, exactly.
Every single time. And I think it's just like, I'm not trying to bash other companies. It's just the way that traditional landscaping is. It's just kind of set up for production and quick maintenance and just get it done, make the client happy and move on.
Yeah.
And
I think we need, and it is a great point, Cam. Thank you. Like, cause that is the way most people operate, right? Like you and I don't operate that way, but when we get with the client a lot of the people will go into it with that mindset. Hey, convenience. Let's make this quick, make it serve us, you know, when nature, you know, it's a interdependent relationship.
Yeah.
But the I've even met like it's everybody. It's not who's not being conscious about it. My point is like I met this girl who's working in the government at this permaculture thing. She's working in the local government. She was like, yeah, I'm trying to make change. I'm trying to figure it out. But they just they just want easy, quick maintenance. And that's what we're trying to figure out. And I'm like,
there's walls everywhere.
Yeah. Like, is that what we could do concrete everywhere? Like, is that where the world you want to live in? I don't know.
It's tied into a lot of other things, I think, too, that we could talk for days about.
Right.
But I think a lot of systems are just backwards and we need to infiltrate them. And I think there's a lot of obstacles in the way that is making us not get to the point where we're trying to get to. But we're the next generation, man. We're changing the game for a better future. Yeah. You know, maybe the last generation didn't get it, but it's funny because I see people commenting on, you know, I'm on these sites now, so trying to get my business out there, and I just look at what people argue about sometimes, and it's like, can you believe it? Like someone has a coconut palm and it's dropping coconuts, and it's just so
Right.
reckless. How could the HOA, allow this? And it's like, I'm like walking down the street asking my neighbors for coconuts.
Yeah, how do we get more coconuts?
You know what you could do with one coconut? It's so epic.
It's so true. Yeah,
you could drink it.
It's value systems, I think, is the punchline.
Yes.
People have different value systems.
Yes.
But like, oh, we need it to not be messy. Like, I don't want to be stepping on coconuts. Or, and other people worship the coconut, literally.
I mean, they take so much time out of their days to just complain about a poor coconut that's just doing its job.
Wow.
But yet they won't even like think about for a second where their food's coming from when they walk into Publix. And it's like, this stuff is coming right from your backyard. It's all organic. Wow. There's nothing wrong with it. And here we are going in and buying stuff that's not even from our country, let alone, or who knows what it's been sprayed with. So really want, it's more like of a passion, and it's more of like a burning desire. There's something deep in me that's like, I think I need to definitely help the system. I want to help change this completely for the better for our next generations.
That's awesome, man.
Like, and if I don't show that to my daughter, what good am I? Like, we need to be examples. I think some things are, kind of like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks kind of thing. I believe in people for sure, but I think it's more of a wavering out of the older ways and in with the new. And I think we need to, teach and be leading examples to the younger generations of what it's really about. So that's
respect.
So it's part of like what I truly believe in, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Like, I love designing because each landscape is new. It's a challenge. It's fun. New soil, different lighting, everything. What native can go here? What edible can go here? It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you, man. Let's do it. Let's change.
Yeah. I want to give a little shout out to an example.
Go for it.
There's a community, everybody probably knows it, the Villages. Up in like Central Florida, North Central Florida.
Yeah, there's a big like retirement
giant
community thing. Yeah.
Gigantic. I mean,
huge.
Talk about plowing land. I mean, there's just gigantic. Golf courses everywhere. By the way, I used to work on a golf course, and it's just no good. No good.
Goes against nature.
Golf is fun, but it's like definitely goes against nature.
So get back to it. So the Villages.
So the Villages,
Ocala, right? Or
it's around like Ocala. It's going all over now, but
really,
it'll probably reach the Everglades. And, but there's a guy out there who's part of the Florida Native Plant Society. His name is Steve Turnipseed. Big inspiration. He came and spoke when I was at University of Florida, and his yard is literally probably the only native landscape. He got the committee to approve it, and his whole entire yard from front to back is like a complete night and day from the entire, like if you did an aerial, you would see like his brown plot land compared to just like this green, like green grass and golf community. I mean, he's got everything from ground covers to trees, man. And his yard is teeming with life. And I think it's a great example. He's got a bunch of YouTube videos, and it's on, you could probably get information from Florida Native Plant Society from it. But
shout out, Steve.
It's stuff. Yeah, no, great.
Cool. He should be on the podcast.
Yeah. You got to reach out. Yeah. Because that's what I'm about, man.
Me too. So he's in the Villages, and
he's got like the sickest like native plant landscape like in the middle of this golf community, and it's just awesome. Kudos to him for sure. But I think we need to change the way we run HOA boards and get people with a mind to change the old style and in with the new.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, so let's make change. Let's be examples. Yeah, Cam, you're inspiring me so much today.
Thank you. You inspire me with the edibles, man.
Heck yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, we'll collab. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some more. Yo, I think we have to wrap up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Dude, I super appreciate you.
I know. Coming. Sorry, we could talk for days, like I said, but
dude, totally. But dude, is there? Yeah.
Yeah,
Cam, is there anything that you want to share with the world?
Man, never stop learning, always grow, from your mental to your garden. Just keep growing, keep pushing forward. There's a light at the end of that tunnel for sure. And there's always positivity that we're we're finding. Don't get stuck in the dark.
I love that.
It's always a brighter future for sure, and we can make that change. So just stay tuned. I'll have some 3D and 2D designs to help, show what I do, but also educate people about native species and edible gardens as well. So thank you, brother. I appreciate you for having me on.
Yeah, anytime, Cam.
Good.
Thank you.
We're just
tuned.
getting started, man. We're
Let's
just getting
go.
started.
Longleaf Designs.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming,
awesome.
man.
Thanks, brother.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.